All right, guys, what's up? We've got a recap from night one of the Knoxville 360 Nationals. It's a little bit of a different recap than what you're used to seeing whenever it comes to a big, World of Outlaws or Highlander racing event. I'm not going to do a lap by lap type of deal. I'm just going to kind of talk about the storylines that happened throughout the night, talk about the top finishers, and also talk about the point standings after night number one. As you probably know, you got to be in the top 20, I believe it is, after the two prelim nights to be locked into the feature for Saturday. And so we'll talk a lot about the points, which is a big talking point after last night. And one of the other big talking points was your race winner. That would be Caleb Johnson. Easily the biggest win of his career. Caleb Johnson, the son of Doug Johnson. If you don't know, he is the general manager of Houston Speedway and Jackson Motorplex. Works directly under Todd Quiring, who is the owner of David Gravel's number 2 car on the Outlaw Tour. Caleb Johnson, one of the nicest guys in the pit area, and it was cool to see him get a win in the Dennis Gainey Racing number 6 car. And, a lot of people were really high on Caleb going more into the Knoxville Nationals, driving that 58 car. But he's been close to wins this year, not only in that Dennis Gainey car, but in his own 22 car. And I want to say this is only like either the second or the third win of his entire career, right, in a 360. He's never been able to win a 410 race from what I could find. If he has, then let me know, but I couldn't find it anywhere. But his last win was, I want to say, 2022 with the MSTS series, and he might have had one other 360 win. So this is a huge deal for Caleb Johnson, and he basically dominated this race. Late in the race, you could kind of tell that he was either getting tired or he was getting nervous or maybe a combination of both because he was starting to make a lot of mistakes. He was kind of, ramping off the infield berm and kind of missing the bottom and making some aggressive maneuvers through lap cars and things like that. But he was still able to hang on and get the win by a pretty healthy margin there. I think at one point in time when I was watching, he had over like a 3-second lead, maybe at one point in time. So he was definitely the guy that was to beat, obviously. But I don't think he was the fastest car on the racetrack by any means last night. I think the fastest car on the racetrack, and if he had more laps, maybe a caution or two going his way, Chase Randall more than likely would have won this race. He started in 12th and would finish second. He was the Hard Charger Award winner in this race. Third place was Cade Higday. Great run for him. He ran second for most of the race and kind of in the same situation as Caleb Johnson. It almost looked like he was getting tired or he was getting nervous or something there towards the end of the race. He was making a lot of mistakes, but he was able to still hang on to third. At the last lap, he got a really lucky break when he got next to a lap car. Austin McCarl was about to pass him, but there was a lap car next to him. He couldn't get by him. And so Higday would end up in the third spot. Austin McCarl would run fourth, and Emerson Axsom was in the fifth position. He started eighth, got to fifth. He was, I would say, besides Randall, he was the next best car in the field. He went, he was the 44th car out to qualify. He went third quick. He went sixth to the win in the heat race, and then he went eighth to fifth in this main event. Emerson Axsom, and that's one of the storylines that I have over here on the board, just continues to impress behind the wheel of the Wing Sprint car. There is no reason, I feel like at this point, this guy should not be on some kind of national tour next year. I know it's crazy to say because this is only his first year running full-time Wing cars, but it definitely appears that he is ready to do that. Sixth in this race was Justin Peck. He started third, and I did have a couple of people asking me, why didn't you have Peck on your list of top 10 guys to run inside the top 10 on the Saturday portion of the 360 Nationals? I just wasn't really sure how that was going to go with him in the Hefner Racing 27. If he was in the Buick Motorsports car, and then no doubt he would have been in my top 10. But I wasn't really sure how that Hefner car was going to go. Justin Peck hadn't been in it all year long, but he had a solid run. I mean, he went backwards in the feature, but he's had a really solid night. Was third to sixth in the feature. Also, we had Terry McCarl, who just, I said that in our little preview video, talking about the two prelim nights that, obviously he's past his prime. It's probably in the 410. I think that's definitely true. But the 360, man, he can still get it done. And he proved that last night with a 7th place result. And he's 5th overall in the point standings, more than likely going to be locked into the Saturday feature. And T-Mac, very cool to see that. I don't think he has, the car to win, but I think he could run top 10 on Saturday. With how he ran last night, he was very solid. Obviously got a lot of laps around that place, and that certainly does help. Jamie Ball, nice solid 8th place run. Matt Covington, the lone ASCS full-time driver inside the top 15. Riley Goodnow, that was a big surprise to me to see him inside the top 10. It has been a struggle of all struggles this year for Riley Goodnow. new crew chief of Andy Potter. They've been running a lot all over the place. Like, a couple of years ago, it was Goodnow was a full-time Knoxville guy. Then I want to say it was last year. I mean, he was running everywhere. He was running all kinds of outlaw stuff, all kinds of high limit stuff, all kinds of all-star stuff. And he had a lot of miles on that trailer and that car. And Riley Goodnow has definitely struggled this year, but it was great to see him come home with a really nice top 10 result for him. Matt Jewell was in 11th. Hunter Schurenberg took that 64 car to a 12th place result. That car did make the 360 Nationals main event last year with Ian Madsen behind the wheel. So we know it's good equip, and we know Schurenberg can get the job done. So solid run for him. Good rebound for Cole Macedo, 22nd to 13th after having to come out of the B main. Garrett Williamson was just there. He wasn't doing anything crazy all night. He won his heat race, but he didn't have a very good qualifying effort, and so that hurt him in the overall point standings. 14th for him. And the odds-on favorite for the entire thing to win the whole shebang was Aaron Reitzel, and he finished 15th after starting 21st. And I can't remember if there was any yellows or if there was a yellow. I don't remember, but I don't think there was any cautions. And Reitzel just could not get. Yeah, there definitely was a yellow. He just could not make his way through the field. And it was surprising because he came out and he was quick time overall. And then in the heat race, he just laid an egg, man. He didn't make it through the transfer. I don't even know if he passed a car in the B main. And he struggled in the feature as well for 15th place. Now, let's look at the storylines, and then we'll look at the point standings. So quickly, a couple of things I jotted down here. Caleb Johnson, obviously the biggest win of his career by a country mile. And it was very cool to see Dennis Gainey in victory lane, and he looked like he was kind of, a very emotional. And Caleb Johnson, very well-spoken driver, and he was very thankful for everything that, Dennis Gainey and all the sponsors have given him. And he admitted that it's been a while, man, and he's struggled in Knoxville, but it was, a huge deal to get that win off his back. And then obviously Reitzel and Randall way down in the point standings. The two odds-on favorites, I would say, for this prelim night, along with Austin McCarl, those two guys are on the verge of having to go to the B main on Saturday night. They currently sit at 10th and 11th in the overall point standings. And it obviously just depends on what happens tonight. Do we have a bunch of guys that make a lot of points up? Or do we have a couple of guys that they don't really have a good night, and Reitzel and Randall somehow sneak in? Also, Terry McCarl still has it. He could still get the job done. We mentioned that already. A 7th place result for him, 5th in the overall point standings. Solid night for Terry McCarl, and you love to see that. Emerson Axsom just continues to impress behind the wheel of a wing sprint car. I cannot say enough good things about what he's doing right now. Whoever the crew chief is on the car, give that guy a raise. To be able to get Emerson Axsom that quickly comfortable behind the wheel of that race car, it is truly something impressive. And Axsom, I think he has certainly put his hat in the ring as one of the guys to watch for Saturday. I think he ends up in the top 5 in the Saturday feature, no problem at all in the 27 car. Cole Macedo with a good bounce back. He qualified really well. He qualified 2nd overall, did not make it out of the heat race. He finished 5th in the heat race, and then he had to come through the B main. He finished in the 13th position, started behind Aaron Reitzel, and was able to pass him and make his way forward to maintain a decent spot in points. He is 7th overall, and for a team that really hasn't been to Knoxville that much, that Tarleton Racing car, and Cole really hasn't been there that much in his entire career as well, still a solid bounce back for him from the B main. Danny Dietrich was a huge storyline in this night. Everybody kind of was wondering what he was going to be able to do. He hadn't been to Knoxville in a 360 since 2013. Hadn't been there in the 410 in a couple of years as well. Goes out for hot laps, and I believe it was a steering gear problem that broke. He did not get any practice time, and then he goes out in qualifying, and he misses the invert. He was like, mid-30s, high 40s, mid to high 30s. Where he ended up in qualifying, maybe low 40s. I can't remember the exact number. And then in the heat race, he couldn't pass anybody. But in the B main, he absolutely got going. Was maybe the best car in the B main. Had to come from really, really deep in the field. And I want to say he finished 5th or 6th, missed the transfer by 2. And obviously, that's going to really set him back a ton for Saturday. We'll see if he shows up Saturday. I would think he would, just to get more laps there at Knoxville. But I just kind of wish we could have seen what he would have done if he did not have that steering gear issue in hot laps and had a couple of practice laps to get reacclimated to the racetrack. But Dietrich struggles and then gets going really, really late in the night, and hopefully that proves to help him out. Maybe that is a sign that things are going to be good for him at the 410 Nationals. In my opinion, the feature needs to be longer. Why is this race only 20 laps? With this format, And with this big of a race, why is it a 20-lap main event? I know that Knoxville runs 18-lap features in their 360 stuff on a weekly basis. I'm not sure why. And they only bump up to 20 for the prelim nights. Why is this race where you've got guys going for points, coming from the back? You have that invert in the heat race that really set, guys like Aaron Reitzel and Cole Macedo. They weren't able to get through the heat race. They need more laps to get to the front. Why they only have 20 laps, I don't know. Make it 25, make it 30. I just don't see why it's 20 laps. The feature needs to be longer. What's the guy say? I don't know. It's that guy that sits behind the table, prove me wrong or whatever it is, or something like that. I don't know. It just needs to be longer. The pill draw will continue to be a storyline throughout the rest of the week and throughout the 410 Nationals. But I will say that Emerson Axsom, the high point guy, he went out as the 44th car overall and went third quick. So the track was definitely in good shape to be able to make a decent lap time there towards the end. But there are going to be guys that are going to be saying, hey, my night got ruined as soon as I pulled that 75 pill, right? Like Tanner Holmes, he drew the 75 pill and qualified in as he was the guy, last car on the invert. He qualified 30th, right? So he started on the pole of his heat race, he won that, and then you don't see him in the top 15 here, and then obviously not in the top 12 in points, right? So the pill draw will definitely be a huge factor. And we've seen guys that get late, they can still make a good lap, and guys that get late and they can't really make a good lap. So we'll continue to watch that here tonight and for next week with the 410 Nationals. And then also, Matt Covington is the lone ASCS car to be good in the feature event. He finished 9th after starting 4th. You do not see any full-time ASCS cars in this top 15. There were a couple that made the show. I don't know. Blake Hahn's not full-time ASCS, but Seth Bergman was in the show. And maybe like one other guy. But Matt Covington, the only ASCS guy that really had anything to say about this main event. And then Cade Higday and Jamie Ball basically have the Knoxville 360 regulars on their back after last night. Higday with a 3rd and Ball with an 8th. I guess you could kind of throw Terry McCarl in the mix as well. He is a full-time 360 competitor there as well. And then Austin McCarl, full-time 410 guy. I would say that Ball and Higday, very impressive for those two. A huge field of 54 cars. And, I feel like we kind of expect to see, cool stuff from Terry McCarl and cool stuff from Austin McCarl. But Jamie Ball and Cade Higday are not national known names. And it was cool to see them have good runs in 3rd and in 8th for those two. And they're sitting pretty solid right here in the point standings. Now, the points, looking right here, this 449.5, that was the average amount of points that you needed to make the show last year after the prelim nights. And I don't know what happened this year, but that number is going to be way higher. There's no way it's going to be 449.5 because Emerson Axsom with a really solid score of 488 points out of a max of 500. He was 3rd in qualifying, won the heat race from 6th and 5th in the feature. Austin McCarl, 2nd in points. He's 12 behind, which is actually quite a bit. He was 7th in qualifying, 3rd in the heat race, and 4th in the feature. Jamie Ball, 3rd overall in the point standings at 473. 6th in qualifying, 2nd in the heat race, and 8th in the feature. And then Caleb Johnson ends up in 4th at 468. And what hurt him was his qualifying effort. 14th in qualifying. The rest of the night, though, was good. He was 3rd in the heat race and obviously won the feature. And Terry McCarl with a super solid night. 8th in qualifying, 3rd in the heat race, 7th in the feature for 468 points. Actually tied right now with Caleb Johnson for 4th. Cade Higday, 6th in points at 465. He had a 12th place qualifying effort, 4th in the heat race, and 3rd overall in the feature. And then this is where, I don't know, I would say, I don't know, Reitzel I think is on the bubble at 460 right now with how things are looking. But Cole Macedo, 7th in points at 462. 2nd, 5th, and 13th on the night. So 2nd in qualifying, 5th in the heat race, 13th in the feature. If he would have ran maybe like 8th, he would probably be up there at around 4th or 3rd, I would think, overall in the points. Justin Peck, 461 and 8th. At 11th quick, 4th in qualifying, 4th in the heat race and 6th in the feature. Matt Covington, 9th at 460 points. He's tied with Aaron Reitzel at 10th in the feature, 10th in qualifying, 3rd in the heat race, and 9th in the feature. And Aaron Reitzel rounds out the top 10 at 460 as well. Quick time, 5th in the heat race, and 15th in the feature. So we'll have to wait and see. I mean, 449.5, that was the number you needed last year to make the show. I just don't see how that's going to be the number this time. I think it's going to be way higher. I think it's going to be around the maybe 455, 457. I don't know. It's going to be tough to say because a lot of guys had some good scores last night. Chase Randall is certainly in danger of not making the show straight through out of the prelim night. He's going to have to run the B, I think, at this point. He's at 453, 7 points behind Reitzel. He was 22nd in qualifying, but second in the heat race and second in the feature. So a lot of twos on the board there for the quickest chicken. And then Riley Goodnow for good measure, 12th overall in points, 451 at 15th, 2nd, and 10th on the night. So let me know what you guys think about the point standings. Let me know what number you think it's going to take to make the show on Saturday. We will find out tonight on the second prelim night of the Knoxville 360 Nationals who will be locked in to the feature on Saturday for a $20,000 to, is it 20? 25,000? I think it's 20. $20,000 to win main event with $500 to lead each lap in that feature. I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys thought about last night's race, and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow to recap tonight's prelim action from the Knoxville Raceway. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you again soon.